Okay, here today we'll discuss few queries, or you could say few questions related to SQL, which are asked in top companies. Okay, so this is a question which is asked in Microsoft, right? So considering a data set which tracks the interactions between different clients. Okay, so I'll show you the table. You can see this is my table where you have, okay, this is my table where you have certain clients information.
Hi,
Okay.
Sai. We are
Yes.
not able to see
Sir,
your
screen
screen.
not visible to us.
Okay. Okay. I'll share it again. Okay. Is it visible now, everyone? Could you please confirm?
Yeah, now it is.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So this is a query which is asked in the Microsoft, right from the Microsoft. So here is a data set where you could understand there are certain clients who interact, okay, with respect to work, and the customers who are loyal. Like we have to find those customers or those clients who are loyal to the organization. You can see for each of these clients, we want to calculate the number of such exclusive users who are loyal to the organization and where they don't interact with any other clients. Okay. Next, the output should include the client ID and corresponding count of exclusive users. Okay, this is our query. Now the meaning is the meaning for exclusive users is they should not, they have mentioned it, right? They should not interact with any other clients. And the the approach can be, we will write a subquery in order to filter out those people who are the exclusive users or non-exclusive users, so that we can further understand, you can see, like we can filter them who even those IDs who discuss with multiple clients, or you could say interact with multiple clients. Next, we count those IDs and group by and order so that we can get the rest necessary output. Okay, this is our table. I hope you are able to understand, the values, right? Now, if you see here, we have certain client IDs, we have certain customer IDs, right? And there are certain events, event type, ID, time ID, and user ID, right? So where we need to find out loyal customers with respect to our requirement. So if you try to understand the question, there is a self join required because it is the same table, and where we are trying to interact within the same data. Okay, we'll understand it and try to write the query. So if you understand like what is subquery, subquery is nothing but query within query, right? You could say nested query. So with respect to this data, let us try to filter out those people, right? So I'll write something called select. I want distinct user IDs, right? So I want, or you could say distinct client IDs. So I'll write distinct client underscore ID, comma. I want to count those distinct users who are exclusive users. Okay. So I'll write count of, right? I want distinct user IDs, right? These are someone called as exclusive users. Exclusive users. Now you can see, like, okay, from which table? The table name is something called meetup events. Okay, if you just execute this, okay, it will not be executable because we need the group by, right? So let us group by. What is group by? What should we do in the group by? Anyone?
Client
Sir,
ID.
it grouped the similar values into some data.
Yes, yes. Good. Now we are grouping by the client ID. We can understand this is the client ID and these are the exclusive users which we applied. But this is not the whole query. Okay. Now we have to implement the major part. There is a where condition where you have to apply. What is our condition? Where user ID not in. Okay. Not in. They should not discuss with multiple clients, right? We are going to filter out those guys. So we'll write something called select distinct. What I'll do is like other table, which where I'll take the same table, right? So I'll name the table as something called M1. Okay. M1 dot user ID. Yeah, I hope you understand the self join where we are doing the self join. I'll call this same table again. I'll call it as M1. Okay. I'll join the same table. I'll call it as M2. Okay. On what basis? M1 dot user underscore ID is equal to M2 dot user underscore ID. What is one more condition? And one more condition is M1 dot client ID is not equal to M2 dot client ID. Is this the condition which they have asked? Right.
Hmm.
So we are able to satisfy the condition. So like, of course, if you execute like that, it will not be represented. But if the data is anywhere present, you'll be able to get such output. Okay. Now, if I execute this, I can see that there are these values, right? Okay. Now let me order by exclusive all users in descending order. Okay. Okay. So these are those clients like where, you know, which satisfies our condition, and these are the exclusive loyal users. Right. Other users, like they are like, of course, there are no such users, but again, this is how we have to, approach. Is it understandable, everyone?
Okay. Yes.
Right. All you need to understand is how a table joins with the same table. Here there are two conditions, right? That user ID is the same one, and as well as where based upon which we have joined, and where the client IDs must not be the same, because each user should not be interacting with multiple sites. Okay. Next thing we'll discuss. This is the question which was asked in Microsoft. Next we'll discuss one more query. Okay. Where this is a query where it is asked in Amazon. Okay. So we'll see the table first. Okay, this is our table where we have a date, right? Price, product ID, quantity, and user ID. Now, what do we need to understand? Okay, you have a table. User that makes their first in-app purchase are placed in the marketing campaign. Okay, there is a marketing campaign where it is running. User will be placed in that if at all they follow the certain conditions. Okay, where they see call to actions for more in-app purchases. Find the number of users that made additional in-app purchases due to the success of the marketing campaign. Okay, and we have to find the number of users. The marketing campaign doesn't start until one day after the initial app purchase. Okay, so if it is a creation date, the marketing campaign does not start until one day, right? Till one day it did not start, and before that whoever has started, it is not valid for them. Okay, so you can see, so that users that only made one or multiple purchases on the first day do not count, right? Those people who have purchased on the first day, they are not counted for the marketing campaign. Okay, what is one more condition? Nor do we count the users that over time purchase only the products they have purchased on the first day. Right, those who have purchased the products on the first day, they are not counted. Right, I hope the question is clear, where we have to find out those guys who didn't purchase on the first day. Even if there are one or multiple purchases, they are not counted for marketing campaign. Right, now what are the steps that we need to write? We have to find out, or we could write a CTE where we could filter out at least one day after the purchase of that application who has bought that in-app purchases or applications. We'll filter out them. Next, we'll try to exclude those guys who already bought on the first day, right? They are not included. So we'll count those distinct users who meet this above two criteria, right? First thing, they should buy at least one day after the first purchase of the application. Second thing, we'll exclude those guys who purchased already within the first day. I hope the question is clear, right? We have this data. Now the approach which I told you, it will take some understanding. For example, I'll show you, in a normal way. For example, let us take the user ID. Okay, so I'm taking the user ID. I wanted to find the minimum of created date, because that is the date where the particular user has created that application, right? So what do we call it as? First purchase date. He has purchased that application, or you could say subscription or anything. So that is something called as first purchase date. From which table? Our table name is called in-app purchases. Okay. So since we used minimum function, we need to group by aggregation function, right? Group by user underscore ID, right? Now if you execute, you can see these are the user IDs and these are the minimum purchase dates, or you could say minimum dates where they have created that application, or you could say first purchase date it is. Okay. Next, what I can do to make it useful, I'll convert or I'll make this into CTE, right? I'll call it as with CTE, right? This is how we can create CTE, right? I can make it a CTE, and let me write select. What do we want to do? We need to count those people, or you could say distinct users, right? So in this again, we'll be using the same table. So what I'll do is I'll write p dot user underscore ID. Okay. I'll write it as something called successful users, those who has who has passed the criteria, our criteria. Okay. Next, what is the criteria? Either we have to either we have to find one day after the purchase date, or else we should exclude those people, right? Now try to understand what are we doing with you by using the self join. Just like earlier question where we use the self join, here also we are using the self join within the select clause after CTE. Okay. What we'll do is from which table? In app purchases, we'll call it as P. Okay. We took the name as P, right? You can take any name. I'll join the table. What is the table? Our CTE, right? And on what basis? On P dot user ID is equal to CTE dot user ID, right? This is the self join which we have done. I hope till now it is clear, right? Next, that we have to apply the where conditions, where we have two different conditions. Where first condition is user date created at date, it should be greater than 1 day. So what we can do, p dot created at, okay, this date must be greater than. For adding one date, we can use a date add function. Okay. So what is the interval? Day, right? Increment is 1. And what is that particular expression small date time? We'll take CTE dot. Okay. What is the column name? First purchase date, right? That is what we found out, right? Minimum date, right? This is how we compare and find out those dates which are greater than that 1 day ahead. Okay. And we'll write one more condition where we can write something called not exist. Suppose if we want to write a query and we want to check multiple values whether they exist or not, we can write this not exist, right? Now we need to select all those values which are present in that particular table, okay, relating to the first purchase date, whose IDs are same, and also product IDs are same, and again the first purchase date is also same, right? So we'll exclude them. Okay, those who purchased on the first purchase date, we are going to exclude them, right? So what we'll do, I'll write something called select. One will take the first condition, or you could say it will select the respective column from in. Okay, app purchases. Okay, we'll call it some other name. Okay, suppose I'll call it as products. Okay, I'll call it as products. I'll write where condition within that, where my products dot user ID is equal to p dot user ID. Okay. Next, what is another condition? Products dot product ID. It should also be the same, right? P dot product ID. Okay, what is one more condition? The minimum purchase date should be the same with respect to this table. Here we are up, remember that here we're applying not exist, which means that we are trying to exclude them. Okay, so that is the reason why we are writing negation condition. So in order to compare the IDs, what we can do is we can cast that particular dates, right? Cast that particular products dot created at as something called date, right? It must be equal to cast. What is this particular table thing? We can write this first purchase date, right? First purchase date. Uh, okay. CT, right? CT. CT dot first purchase date. Okay. We need to convert, right? We call it as date. So this is the conditions where the user ID, product ID must be same, and minimum purchase date should be the first purchase date, or you could say self join. These things should be comparable, and we need to exclude those values. We are making sure that those dates does not lie with respect to these conditions. Okay, so I hope now you are able to understand, and this is the a query where you're able to solve such query, right? Now let us execute and see. We'll see if we are able to get the right output. Okay, there are 3 successful users who follow who follow this criteria, and the answer is correct. Okay, now let me explain you again what we have seen. We found out those user IDs who has that minimum purchase date. We found out those by using a simple group by. We made it a small table, or you could say common table expression as CTE. Right. Next, our criteria is, first thing is, at least one day after the purchase, the user must have purchased. Okay. Second criteria is they must already, those who has bought already on the first day, they must be excluded. So what I'm doing is, those user IDs who has purchased on the first date, I'm excluding those by mentioning that not exist condition. One more condition is date, it must be greater than the first day of the purchase. Right? Is it understandable, everyone? Any queries or doubts on this particular query? Anyone? Anyone?
Can you please explain the order of execution?
Order of execution. Okay. So usually with respect to CT, like CT, see in the select class, yeah, the order of execution, it will always will be the table, right? Next join, right? Next it'll be using the if there are any group by or where conditions, it will filter it, and then group by having and all those. Here the CT, wherever you are using that CT, that CT will refer to this common table expression. Order of execution will be similar only. At the end, your select function will be executed. What is the select class will be executed. What is the select class? We are counting the user IDs who are successful users. Am I right? Does it make sense?
Okay.
Any confusion or any sort of doubt in this? It is just a simple CT where we applied some where condition within the select class. Right? I hope there are no doubts. We'll move ahead and understand one more query. Okay. Okay. So this query is asked, by the Tesla. Okay. You can understand. Let me show the table first. Okay. So there are some order IDs, product IDs, and timestamps. Okay. 3 different columns we have. Now try to understand this. This will be easy only, but you need to understand. Okay, the company you're working want to anticipate their staffing needs by identifying their two business times of the week. I mean, two busiest times of the week. Or I could say top two. Okay, top two busiest times of the week. To find this, each day should be segmented into different parts using this criteria. Before 12 p.m., we should call it as morning. Between 12 to 15, we call it as early afternoon, or else it is late afternoon. Okay. The output should include the day and time of the day combination for the two busiest times, which is the combinations of the most orders. It will be like this. Okay. For example, we want top two results could be Friday late afternoon with 12 orders and Sunday morning with 10 orders, like this. Okay. Next thing is company also requested that the day be displayed in the this particular day format. Okay. So if at all if there is any tie in ranking, all results should be displayed. Okay, no result should be skipped. They want all the results. Now how to approach it? Okay, so you have seen the data set, right? We have order, product ID, and timestamp. So mostly will be like using case when statement and try to solve it by categorizing it based upon these three conditions. Now we have to make based upon the day of the week. We need to categorize, and also we have to determine like what suits that particular orders based upon the hour, and we have to count the number of orders for each combination of day and time period. Okay, I hope this is understandable. When I execute, you'll be able to understand better. Next we have to find rank it. Okay, without ranking we can't find out top two, right? So we need to rank it and then get the output. I hope the question is clear. They want to find the top two business busiest times where the maximum numbers of orders are there, right? And so that they could make certain decisions based upon that. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll try to write select. Okay, so to get the weekday, what function can we use? Anyone? What is the function that can be used for date finding out the weekday? Anyone? Day of week. Okay, here we use something called date name function where we can find the weekday. Okay, I'll write date name weekday and I'll use this timestamp column. Okay, and I'll call it as day underscore off underscore week. Okay, so this is one column where we are finding out the day of the week. And second column, we need to write something called case when statements, where I'll write case and I'll write when. Right. When in order to find the hour, I can use something called date part. I'll use this hour, right? And I'll use the timestamp column. So what does this do? From the timestamp column, it will extract me the hour, right? If it is less than 12, if it is less than 12, then what do we call it as? Morning, right? When my date part of hour, related to the timestamp column, it is between, or you could say greater than or equal to 12. Okay, and my date part, right, if it is less than 15, okay, then what do we call it as? Early afternoon, right? Early afternoon. So I hope we are able to understand this simple case when statements. Else we can use the condition which is called as late afternoon, right? Late afternoon. Okay, so we can end this particular case and case when statement. Let us call this particular column as something called time of day. Okay, like understandable names we have to use. From which table are we choosing this? The table name is something called sales log. Okay, so now if at all you want to execute, you need to use group by, right? Why? Because we use those functions. What do we group by? We group by, okay, we need to count, right? Count the number of orders. So you can make another column, put a comma, Okay, count. How do we count? We can take order ID. We can call it as order count. Okay, so 3 columns we wrote. One is day of week, one is time of day, and order count. What do we need to group by? Anyone? What are the columns that we need to use in group by?
So the same column we have used in select statement.
Okay, which ones?
Day of week, morning.
Okay, day of week as well as time of day, both the columns. Okay, not one column, both the columns, because we are trying to extract similarly. So we have to group by both the columns. We should remove these things. It is not required. Now similarly, we should remove these names. Right. So this is my group by. Now if I try to execute it, you can see this is my day of the week. What is the time of the day and what are the orders count, right? So this is my order count, respective order counts. Now I have to find the top two, right? Like in order to get that we need ranking also. Okay, so order count anyway you are able to find, but ranking you must do it, right? If at all data increases and it will be chaotic, right? So let us make it as something called CT. So I'll make this particular CT. Okay, always try to use some meaningful CT name. Something we'll call it as something called as time period orders. Okay, time period orders. I'll call it as right, and I'll close this parenthesis and I'll put a comma. Here what we can do is we can use create a particular another CT. Let us call it as ranked orders. I'll call it as open the parenthesis and I'll use something called select. What do I need to select? Day of week, right? I'll use something called day of week, comma. I can use something like bring the column of day, time of day. Okay, and we should bring order count. Okay, now we should rank it, right? So for ranking, what is the function we use? Rank function, right? So what is the better way to rank? We can use dense rank, right? But again, okay, let us use rank function. You can use dense rank as well, and I can write over class where you can order by what? Order count. Okay, order by order count, and I'll keep it in descending order. Okay, I'll call it as something called ranking. Okay, and this is where we can get the ranking, right? I'll close the parenthesis. Okay, no other condition is required. From which particular table? From, we need to mention CT name, right? Time period orders. This is where we are bringing all these columns, right? Time period orders. Now we made two CTs. Again, we need to write select clause, right? So in this select clause, we can take this all same columns, right? Now in order to filter the ranking, can anyone tell me the condition? From which table? Ranked orders. That is my last CT, right? Which I have created. This is my ranked orders. What is the condition? Where ranking is less than or equal to 2, right? This is all what we want. And we have to properly order by ranking, and also order count must be in descending order. Right. So these are the conditions which we have to understand. Let me explain you. We calculated the day of the week, right? We may use the case when statement to make sure that the hour, based upon the hour, it is categorized as morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, and we counted the order count, and we use the group by the same columns, right? And in the ranking CT, we ranked those columns based upon the order count in descending order. Okay, and we have to find those ranking where it is less than or equal to 2, because they will give me the top 2 busiest times. So if I just try to execute this, you'll be able to see these are the top 2 order counts, where if there are tie values, okay, there are tie values, even though there are tie values, it will show me all. Okay, so that is why we use rank function, and where it will help us to get all those values where there are there are two busiest times having the maximum orders, right? Is this understandable, everyone? Any doubt in this particular query, anyone? I hope it is straightforward and clear, but only the thing is you must interpret the question well, and this query it will be simpler. Can I get a quick yes from everyone if you are everyone able to follow, if everyone is able to follow? Can I get a quick yes or reaction? Yes. Okay. So try to understand this. There is one more particular uh, query where we are going to discuss. This question might you might encounter frequently, or some similar questions you could encounter, right? So there is some table where you have certain data, okay, where we have worker ID, department, their first name, last name, joining date, and salary. Okay. So what we want to find is fifth highest salary we want to find without using top and limit. Okay, using top and limit, it is very easy to find out, right? Top the particular second highest salary, third highest salary. So without using top and limit, suppose if we order by that salary, if you see this, and here you can see what is the top fifth one. This is first, second, third, fourth, and there are three values, right? Where we have the where we have the same salary, which is at fifth position, right? Which is 60,000, right? Now without repetition, I want to get these three values. Or I could say with the repetition, I want to get these three values without using top and limit. Now let me. Can anyone tell me what would be your approach? Question is simpler, right? Can anyone tell me what would be your approach?
We can use
Okay.
rank.
Sorry.
Rank we can use.
Rank. So instead of rank, we'll use something called dense rank so that it doesn't skip the rank. Okay. So what we'll do is, so why we use dense rank is, suppose even prior to that, if there are any tie-ups, or you could say ties, not tie-ups, if there are any ties where it has similar values, it will skip, rank will skip the rank. Where dense rank will not skip, it will give the succeeding result. Right. So what we'll do, we'll select all the columns, or you could say if you want only salary column, you can choose the salary column. We'll use something called dense rank. Okay. So in over class, what do we need to write? Order by salary in descending order, right? We can call it as something called ranking. From which table? The table name is something called com worker. Okay. And if you execute this, you'll be able to see the salaries and the ranking. And if you see the fifth ranking, you're able to get this fifth ranking. Or if you want the complete, all the columns, you can just put star. That is also fine, right? You'll get all the columns, and you are able to get the ranking. And suppose you want to filter out, what we can do, we can make it as CTE, right? And we can write a select clause with that particular condition. What I'll do, I'll select salary, or you can select all the columns. Okay, your wish. Or else I'll select salary from CTE, where my ranking is equal to 5, right? So if I execute this, you can see I'll get those 60,000 value in all rows. And suppose if you want all the column names, you can mention the column names, right? No problem with that, right? You could say ranking 5. Is it understandable, everyone?
Yes.
Yes, simpler, right? So easy to understand. So these are, these are 4 questions which we have discussed. So this is all for today. And if you have any queries, anyone, please feel free to ask.
I want to know, like, in the earlier query, third one, we are doing group by, right? So we
Yes,
can do
yes.
something like we can reduce the line which we are writing in group by because we are repeating the above steps, right? Case and all.
Case one, right? So this case one, maybe you could write some subquery and do that. Maybe you could try it with by writing subquery. But as such, number of lines in order to reduce it directly, it is not possible. If you want to make it dynamic, then you try to use some dynamic SQL using variables and all those things,
Okay.
right? Any other ideas of reducing the lines of code? This one I would really welcome you. Mm, that will be part of learning for everyone.
No, right now from my side.
Okay, okay. Any other queries, anyone?
Sir, can we get the recording of these?
Yes, yes, soon, maybe in a day or two, it will be posted.
Where it will be posted because I'm not added in the group.
Okay, the person who has sent you, maybe you could ask some invite link or chat group link. They'll share with you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, like may I know how you have got the link?
Sir, through Sushant.
Okay, maybe he could help you out. I currently don't have that group link, but the mutual connections, the WhatsApp group, anyone could help you out. Not a problem.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, if there are no queries, this is all for today. And thank you everyone for attending. Hope you have learned something good.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
And those who are interested in the sessions and trainings, please feel free to
Thank you.
reach out. Yes, yes. Please feel free to reach out to Sai Karthik. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.
We'll get those notes at least before
Sorry.
Thank you,
we
sir.
are. Can we get those notes?
Queries actually,
Yeah.
like you'll get through the recording, but data you can make some random data using that
Yeah,
similar
yeah,
data.
we do, but I just want to get questions like
Okay. Uh,
you can post
okay.
in a group. You can
Okay.
link.
I'll try to see if it is possible. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.